Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have on Gavin and Pete Evick. How are you?
Good. How
Great,
are
great.
you?
Thanks for
Good.
having us on.
I'm glad you can have you on. This is first father son thing on. You guys both have two singles that are rocking. This is pretty cool.
This is my
Um,
first time doing father and son shit.
Mine too, technically. Yeah, yeah.
After this, you guys gotta go fishing together too. And
Well, we've done
Yeah.
that.
no, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm teasing you. No, that's pretty cool though.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you're actually you play guitar with Bret Michaels, and you are from the genre of the '80s, '90s rock riffs. You've had other bands. I was checking out your other music too. You really are a riff master, a
I
great guitar
appreciate
player,
you.
and
Thank
a
you.
great singer. And clearly, it's rubbed off on your son. So it's really fun that they're the cohesiveness of actually you each have a single, and they kind of tie into you a little bit because um, you know the favorite songs reminisces the
Sure.
style to what you're doing, of
Best.
your my best days. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's kind of fun like that. Was that an accident when you guys were doing this? Like, how did this come about?
Um, well, I don't, I, yeah, I guess it was an accident because I wrote Best Days during COVID,
Yeah.
at the beginning of COVID, and Gavin wrote his song just in the last 6 months. So
Okay.
it wasn't planned
Mhm.
that way. I mean, maybe there was divine intervention we don't know about, but
Yeah, I mean that's a fun perspective. I didn't think about it like that until now, but that's a good point.
Well, and it makes sense, and it's funny to see a lot of like generationally, goes to your dad's age, where to see the kids are at that age now they're listening to our music and it's influencing them, and now like what's happening with it, and it's nice to see the rock flag being waved still, the younger generation, because there isn't a lot of it going on, and your dad's song is so relatable. It's fun, it's
well, how
great.
old are you?
52.
So I'm 50. It was
There you
written
go.
for you. That song.
Literally, that's what I'm saying. It was very relatable. But then I have a kid. I have 18 year old, 21-year-old, and 23-year old. So hearing you do that, I know my kids listen to my music.
Oh,
It's
do they?
also it's also very relatable. My two youngest play bass and guitar, so it's to me it's like it's that sweet spot. You know what I mean? Where I'm
Yeah.
like, I get that. It's very cool.
What is the black acoustic behind you?
It is an Ibanez.
Oh,
Oh, I thought it was a Dean.
yeah, it looked like one of the Deans that we play.
You've been touring forever, but your son's been going with you sometimes on the road. Like, how's the
Uh,
influence?
I mean,
You
I've been on the road. I graduated high school in 1990, and I've been on the road since then for the most part. Uh, when Gavin was born, actually, the day he was born, 2 days later, I left. I had to leave to do 10 days in the Virgin Islands. I've just always been on the road. I've been in Brett's band 19 years. I rounded to 20 now, but there's all the time prior to that I was just in a van touring the country back and forth trying to spread the word.
That's pretty great. But growing up and seeing Dad doing this, was it automatically was that the thing you wanted to do? Like you're like rock, and
Um,
did you gravitate toward it or?
well, not automatically. I mean, I've always wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I mean, earlier on, it was more like cinematography, directing, acting, like the movie industry and stuff. It's always been the entertainment industry.
Which I push him more and more to do because
Learn as much as you can. Actually, I have video and audio and everything. The more you can do, the better it's going to be for everything.
that's right.
Right.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you saw in the press release, but the thing I'm most proud of him is that the video he edited his video all himself. Like we hired a big production team to film it, but he did all the editing himself, and uh, I was more excited about that than the release of the song. I think.
I was actually going to add that because I actually have some video background. I was going to comment that you have a lot of really good cuts.
Thank you.
It's important to keep the rhythm and not too fast, not too slow.
Yeah,
You can
Right.
get it's either the minutia of everything. Like we'll talk in reference to music. Like the song list on an album, the cuts in a video, the looks. It's all very important. It could just annihilate great music by doing it wrong.
Right. Well, I had a vision in my head of how I wanted the music video to be that I felt like I could hire like a really, really professional editor, but it's still my vision that I wanted to get out. I mean, the editing is so important with when it comes to the song because I mean, you have to match it. Like it goes down to specifics, like even just little crossfades. Like I want this dissolve to be like 3.4 seconds because it goes nicely with this part of the song. That all comes hand in hand.
It does, and it's a good. See, generationally, it's good because the revenue streams are different now too. So the
Mm-hmm.
more you can do for yourself,
That's
the
right.
better it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can
Mm-hmm.
do a full service.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you guys? It's so odd to have you guys play together. Like my oldest kid listens to rap, so he's actually disowned.
Yeah.
My two listen to rock, so it's kind of really kind of cool. Are you guys gonna do any kind of playing together though, like out at some point?
So I do this annual show with my band Evick.
Yeah.
We only play a couple times a year. I do an annual show in January locally, and he's forming his band and putting the band together now. The guys in the video, one of the guy in the video is his guitar player, but the other two guys are from a band called Adam and the Metal Hawks,
Hmm.
and so he's putting his band together now, and hopefully that would be done in time that he can perform at that show with me.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool. You're in an interesting spot where you're gonna have to establish yourself as yourself, but also be
Right.
able to embrace playing with your dad and having fun because
Mm-hmm.
that's the cool thing too. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something I've always done too. I mean, besides just the band, like whenever he does his Epic shows, I'll still get up and I'll sing with him. I'll sit in for a couple songs and stuff, and I love to do it. It's fun.
Yeah, he gets up and plays with us with my band, but his band is supposed to play in January, so we'll see what that happens.
that's
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm sure dad has lots of tips for you too about bands and everything else.
He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to anything. I tell him all the time.
Listen to your dad. If anybody, if there's one industry to listen to, it's your dad who's done 20 years of this.
But
And
it's not only me, but me and Brett and Tom Kiefer and Eric Brittingham and my friend Danny Stanton, who manages Dee Snider and Twisted Sister. We all tell him the same thing, all of us. And if one of us doesn't know something, including Brett, and he still does whatever he wants.
it's crazy. You gotta follow the rules. You gotta especially find the best guys. If you're gonna be on tour, you want to find good musicians but better people. People can always become better musicians. You gotta be with them every single day. You don't want the hot shot that's a jerk. You want the good musician that's a good person.
It's way more important to be able to live on a bus with someone than how fast they can play their licks. That's what
Right. That's why it's taken so long to form the band, is because, I could get a quick local musician, or like I'm searching for the best musicians, not just musicians, but just like people that are like brothers that, you could live on a tour bus with.
Right.
I'm looking to form like a really, really good band.
You want to find a bunch of good human beings that can also play instruments well.
Right.
That's what you're gonna do. Um, so as far as the best days single, it's good. Are you gonna do more of that in that vein?
I'm all over the map. I hadn't written an Evick song in 15 years.
Well, I see there's a lot of stuff out there. That's why I'm asking you, because it feels like obviously Brett's a big commitment for you, but you have a couple different bands through the years.
Yeah,
This song really has something different, and
Yeah.
I think you should kind of jump on it.
So how do I say it? Best days. I think I said it. I think it was in print or not, but I intentionally wrote and produced and mixed that song to sound like a Bon Jovi song. Like every bit of it was supposed to sound like it came off the New Jersey record on purpose, because that was the point of the nostalgia. The song is kind of anti-nostalgia. It's kind of quit worrying about back in the day, but worry about what's in front of you. But the feel of it, I want it to be nostalgic, because I do love that whole remember when stuff. I've written tons of those songs myself.
Right.
It's just at 50 years old during COVID, I was like, man, I don't want to just keep wishing I was back in high school. There's got to be better. And so, but I wanted it to still play into a nostalgic feel with the Bon Jovi thing. But I have a handful of other tunes. I have one song called Counting Down the Minutes that I've had for a couple of years that is probably more like a Skid Row type of heavy type of song.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a song called One of These Days that's actually probably a pure country song. And then I've been working on another song called This Moment that has I love the lyrics to it. And when I sat down to start demoing it, I got the first verse out, and it was the soundscape became very very I don't want to say Duran Duranish, but there was piano and synth involved, and it very, very, very pop, almost Cyndi Lauper, Time After Time-ish. You know what I mean? I because I produced and been making records for 30 years now. I just sit down and write, and it could end up anything. But at the same time, it all to me sounds the same. Like every song I've ever done sounds exactly the same to me.
It sounded good to me. Like I felt the nostalgia nod to it, but it didn't feel like it was a dated. Like it was like Bruce Springsteen pick up the ball and doing Glory Days. I didn't feel like it was like you're lamenting.
Right.
It felt like it was a conversation. Like we'll talk about things. You know what I mean? But it also didn't feel like it was heavy on the Bon Jovi thing to me. It just felt like a good rock song, and that's what I'm saying.
You're the first person to ever say that. Most people that have heard it, they're like, "Oh, dude, you should be paying Bon Jovi because you ripped him off so bad."
I don't think that. I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of times.
Yeah, man. Back then, that was when Seven Dust was starting out, right?
I actually saw before their Seven Dust when the guitar player was the drummer in Peace Dogs.
Oh, right on.
Down at the Masquerade.
Yeah. And then Butch Walker and those guys, they were in South Gang.
Marvelous 3, right? Or no, yeah.
It was South Gang
first. South Gang first, yep.
Marvelous 3. And then there's another guy down there from Atlanta, one of my favorite songwriters of all time that's not a 80s rock guy at all, a guy named Sean Mullins. He had the song Rockabye in like 1990.
Yeah, I remember him. I was going to say, that's what I thought you were going to say who that was, yeah. That was the only one I know.
Yeah, Atlanta's given some good stuff out to people. Butch is a genius. I mean, look at everything that guy managed to do. I don't know if you follow his career or whatever.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's turned. It's crazy how he went too, especially the dynamics of going from rock took a big hit, so a lot of artists had to scramble. How are you going to do it? You know what I mean? Yeah. He really kind of came to the top with that.
I remember playing the cover scene in '98, struggling. I liked like a lot of I liked Bush and Sugar Ray and Hootie and stuff. I wasn't a big grunge guy, but I remember Marvelous 3 came out and they had that one song, Freak of the Week, and our band jumped on it. We learned it because it was on the radio.
Good pop song.
It was fun, something to do, and I thought he was bringing it back. I remember several times over the years hearing. Like I remember hearing Marvelous 3, Freak of the Week, and thinking, "Oh, rock and roll's back! Someone did it." I remember hearing My Own Worst Enemy from Lit, and going, "Oh, there it is! Someone's back with it." And Buck Cherry, and then they'll have one good song, and then it never brings it back to the floor.
Yeah, I think Buck Cherry's been good about bringing it back. I don't think there's been a lot of solid out bands that they keep coming with a rock guitar.
Yeah.
That's newer.
Right. And it's funny you talk about newer, and that Buck Cherry record came out 25 years ago.
Oh, you're talking about 15?
Whatever.
The first one, yeah. Well, I'm talking about just a new one. Their last one, I promoted that one too. It's a good album.
Oh, when did that come out?
Last year, the Hellbound one. It's a good thing. But it's a mixture. It's times are a little different. It's a good rock record. Yeah. Like we all change. It's not nostalgic. It just fits.
They open up for us from time to time, and they're always really solid and good.
They work hard. They keep clean.
That night in West Virginia, you came out a few years ago with your friends. Buck Cherry played. Remember that?
Did they?
Yeah.
And like 2 years ago?
Yeah. You brought Gabe or whatever.
Oh yeah, Gabe and.
Sorry, we're having memories of funny.
Okay. No, but they're pretty good. CVD was actually just on the other day here talking about some stuff. They're working on the new album in Nashville. That's where everyone goes now for albums. Nashville.
Yeah. Right
do all the recording. And so, how would you find time with you're touring with Bret and you're doing, because you do also do a lot of recording of albums too. How do you plan it out? Sketching's always interesting to me.
I'm actually in the studio with Bret right now. I rushed over here to do this with him, and then as soon as we're done this, I have to get back over there. Me and him are working on a brand new song right now.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't. I just grasp at it. I go 100 miles an hour and try to get my head in anything I can do. I love making records. I don't get to do it enough. Producing his song was one of the greatest joys I've had in a long, long time. It was neat to do that. I just recently remixed a song I don't know what the band is called, to be honest with you, but Jason McMaster from Dangerous Toys is singing on it.
Dirty Looks?
No, it's not Dirty Looks.
Oh, is that okay?
It's I don't know what it is. I don't know that it's the bass player is the guy that is the project, and he had Phil Verone play
drums,
and Jason McMaster sing on this song, and it turned out great. I don't know when he's going to release it, but I'm super proud of that. It came out great, and I was a big Dangerous Toys fan.
As I am. I was just talking to Jason. I was emailing him yesterday.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And the so to get to actually work with Jason's voice was awesome to me.
His voice is not gotten any. He's not slowing down. You know,
no, not at all. Not at all.
And it's so, I'm like, how do you take care of it? Like at this point, I lose my voice yelling at my kids. Like I don't know how people like keep their voices and keep it up nowadays. So when someone
just recently at Mossman's on the Mountain, I saw Dangerous Toys, and he killed it, man, nonstop. And he has to be. If I'm 50, he has to be 56, 57, right?
He is just nonstop with his bands and his teaching, and he's such a busy guy. And his podcast, he's pretty busy.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. So actually, you were probably doing more recording because, well, if you're working with Bret, then when Poison's doing stuff, obviously it probably frees up your schedule a little more, right, to do this.
Yeah. So when Poison tours, which is so rare, to be honest with you.
It is, but now the stadium thing actually, and they might be going elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Not at all. Not at all.
No,
that was enough. We're lucky they made it through that one. If you want to know the truth,
guys.
The rave reviews were great, and they were all proud that happened. But we won't see them again until 2025.
Yeah.
We just signed a deal. The solo band. I think I'm probably not supposed to say this. I should let Bret announce it first, but what the fuck? The solo band just signed a deal with Live Nation for next year, so we're doing the Sheds next year, and Night Ranger's opening up for us.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's starting with 12, and the tickets are going to go on sale in November. It's called Bret Michaels Party Grawl, and it's us, Night Ranger, and maybe Mickey Thomas, the guy that does We Built This City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Starship.
Yeah, Starship. And so it's not a diss on Poison, but Bret would much rather be the solo artist than be in Poison. But it was amazing to see them.
I saw them, and I had seen them. Well, when I was in college, I'd seen them, and I saw them for the stadium tour.
Yeah, and they were great.
They were fantastic. They were great, and Def Leppard were great.
And then the terrible Motley Crue.
And then I left.
Right.
And I saw Motley Crue for Dr. Feelgood. I never got to see him with Karabi, which is one of the things I would have loved to see because that was my favorite version.
Yeah.
And I love Karabi's voice. And what's that?
Oh, he just recently met John for the first time.
Yeah.
And I text John all the time, and I just go, hey, sometimes I say he's the best singer, and sometimes I say he's the second best singer in rock and roll, because Sammy Hagar is my all-time favorite.
Dude, seriously, like he can tear the love off of like a tennis ball. Like his voice still.
I know.
It's insane. It's insane.
75 next week.
See, he has to get the highest props because he's 75. John's a little bit younger. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But
John had some good stories, though. John's got good stories.
Great stories. But Gavin had just met John, and John, that was the first thing he said, because your dad gets drunk and texts me that I'm the greatest singer in the world or whatever. I think John doesn't think I mean it. Like I think he thinks I'm fucking around with him. And I that Motley Crue record,
right?
It's incredible.
I'll be honest with you, that record almost probably ruined the rest of Motley Crue for me. Like once that came out, it's like it changed my perspective.
Well, the shit that came out after that was embarrassing.
After that, it ended, and like so to me. Now I look back, I'm like, I think "Shout the Devil's" a standout album, like influential, and the first one. But you know what I'm saying? Everything else is kind of not the same anymore.
Yeah, so I liked Theater of Pain for some reason. I think it was just my age, which is your age. It was
right. I bought it. I was excited to get it. I thought it was great because they were taking a left turn against all the other bands. It felt like it. There's some good sounds on the album, but I felt like there was something missing in the production. You know?
Yeah, it was thin, without a doubt. But I like it. I like Vince. Vince is a friend of mine, and I love Vince to death. I know he gets a bad rap, but the truth of the matter is he just doesn't care. But it's respectable that he does. I can't explain it. Do you know him? Have you ever met Vince?
He's the one I haven't met him or Bret yet.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have anything bad to say about anybody. I think, unfortunately, the quality of the band itself performing
Terrible.
was awful. And I don't know. I know Vince has sung better before. I don't know what was going on.
Well, he just doesn't care. But it's not like he's a mess. I can't explain it unless you know him. If you sit down and talk to Vince, you gain this incredible respect. He's as old as he is, and he's done everything he wanted to do. And his best friend died in a car accident that he was responsible for. His daughter died, and he's had to spend his life with the biggest douchebag bass player in the world. If the guy wants to get drunk and do what he wants, more power to him. I can't speak for him, but he's cool, man. He's cool. He just doesn't care, but not like doesn't care in a bad way. He just doesn't. I'm going to come out and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it exactly the way I would like to do it. And if you don't like it, fine.
He sounds better on his solo stuff on YouTube than he did at the show. Honestly, like the timing was off. It's like 1, 2, 3. Like I don't even know if he was singing the same song.
Yeah, right, right. Gavin's a big Motley Crue fan.
I love Motley Crue.
Did you see him on the stadium tour?
Yeah, I did, and I loved it. I mean, it was fun.
Gavin. That makes sense. You're not listening to Tom Kiefer. You're not listening to Bret. Of course, you're gonna think that was.
Bottom line, it's fun.
It doesn't just you can not like somebody's music or the sound at the time. It doesn't mean that you hate them as a person. You know what I mean? Motley Crue's done its thing, but vocally they were not delivering. Well, and that smoke they brought in at the beginning nearly killed everybody. Whatever that apocalyptic smoke thing of burnt tires, whatever that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. But someone like me that didn't get to experience all these bands in their prime in the 80s, it was still awesome for me to go see Motley Crue. That was my first time seeing Motley Crue. I've seen Vince several times. But
doesn't he sound better? So
I think it's about the same. I mean,
we were standing right there last year when he fell off the stage.
Oh, we were backstage. We were right there.
Oh man,
he just disappeared.
That's on the video. First, I'm like, "Oh, is he okay?" And then, like, once you know someone's okay, you can laugh at a fall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Are you a Star Wars fan at all?
Yeah.
So you know when Han Solo drops in the carbonite, that's what it was like.
We didn't see the fall.
He was there and he was gone.
Gone, right?
And we were confused because his guitar player, Blando, who's awesome, kept playing. And then what happened to the song? And then his wife just ran right by us. And we're like, something's wrong. What's going on? He just disappeared. You know,
it was amazing.
Yeah,
it's funny. This is funny. I mean, Vince is very charismatic. He has a lot of charisma. You know, he's a good person when it comes to that kind of stuff. At least, you know, so that's pretty funny. There's a lot of good tours. The problem is though, you know, you see Evan that like Piercy and Slaughter and I mean, there's a lot of good bands out there still playing and still singing. So Quiet Riot, just he's singing for Quiet Riot. He's sounding strong. I mean,
we saw Piercy a couple weeks ago, and it was I've been seeing Rat since I was 15 years old, and Piercy was better than he'd ever been.
I said it to him. I said once he got his little demons taken care of last year, and we came out. I said I don't know what people are talking about. I said you sound the best you've ever sounded.
Yeah, you know? And he looked great too. He almost smiled. It was amazing. You know,
he is. Yeah, a new person.
I'm a Piercy fan, though, always have. I mean, and Piercy's been nice to Gavin since Gavin was a child. I used to stand on the side of the stage at the Poison shows with Gavin on my shoulders, and right in the middle of the set, Stephen would always walk up and grab his head or shake his hand or something like that. Stephen's a sweet guy at heart, man. I like him a lot.
He's got a good. I do, and I like it. He's got a good team with him. He's got his fiancée is fantastic. They really have a good thing going now. You know, and I hope they keep it. I think sobriety works for a lot of people now.
Sure.
Especially if you're singing, you got to watch your voice. You know, Gav, you got to watch your voice. You know, take care of it. Your dad's gonna tell you. I'm not gonna listen to him.
He takes care of it. He does take care of it. Yeah.
Well, you're young, so it doesn't.
Right.
It'll go on, right?
I'm still young and ignorant. I've thrown out my voice a couple times before, but now I'm taking care of it.
So, are you writing towards a full album? Are you gonna try?
That's the plan. You know, I mean. Ideally, I'm looking to have a full album within the next year or so. It's a little hard because, trying to get the funding to do that and the time to do that, it's pretty hard, especially as an independent artist right now without a label. but that's the goal. I mean, I have a vision of what I want the album to be like, the 10 songs I want, and it's just a matter of getting it out.
And you're 18, right? Are
20.
you 20?
20.
You already have a single out. You're doing pretty good.
Thank you.
You know,
He wanted it to be out much sooner than it was. He's had this plan, and I think I slow him down a little bit.
That's not necessarily true.
Having a plan's good and getting, but I'm saying you have a good thing. You're at a good point, but pushing even harder is going to keep you going.
Well, sure. I think I was caught up in the sense that, you know, a lot of in modern times, you know, a social media influencer will become an artist nowadays overnight. And, you know, that's a lot of producing and auto-tune that goes into that. And me stepping into rock and roll, I didn't really realize how much hard work actually goes into becoming a real musician. You know, I've been doing this for 3 years, and every single time I would walk into the studio, I had to have sung that song more than 1,000 times, because every single time I walked in there, I was twice as good as I was last time. You know, I was growing as a musician, you know, every single time I sung that song.
Yeah, he actually just started singing about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And taking it serious maybe 2 years ago. But right off the bat, he wasn't a singer and decided to make a record. He wanted to make a record, so he became a singer.
Right.
All right.
You know,
it's a goal.
Yeah. And so we would go into the studio, and I would just push. I would push hard, because I've made so many records with different people. You know, are you a Kicks fan at all?
Kicks, yeah.
Yeah. So I engineered the very first Funny Money song when he left Kicks and made it band Funny Money. I engineered that song. And that was my first experience ever with someone like that. I've known Steve my whole life, but I never worked with him. And I'll never forget. So I used to own this recording studio, like a commercial rehearsal facility, commercial studio. And I'd record all these bands, but no one was like Kicks or like Steve. And most that was the grunge era, and it was mostly local and young guys that couldn't sing. And Steve came into my studio, and he did the first take, and I couldn't believe what it sounded like. But I remember hitting the button and going, "Hey, do you want to come in and check that out?" And he goes, "No, I got it." I was like, "What? Like, you're that confident?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I did a Raven record back in the day. Do you remember the band Raven, the metal band Raven?
I've had them on.
Have you really? You had the Gallagher brothers on there?
I had one of them on. Yep.
I produced or I engineered the Everything Louder record. Okay. But what great guys, by the way.
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah. And so because of my experience making records over 30 years, and we just throw in the studio and just every day, it was just every day sing for a couple hours. And then I would say to him, go back home and listen to this, come back and do it again, and watch how much better you are. And at first I think you didn't believe that was how that was going to work.
No, because it was slow, and I'm young and ignorant, and I just wanted it right there, you know, but it was a slow process, and I started seeing the evolution of it.
So every couple of days you would hear that the song would sound better and better and better. But we literally sang that song probably 1,000 times over 5 months, because I knew where it was going, and he knew what he wanted to hear. He has clear vision. I have to tell you, he knew exactly how that song was supposed to sound, and not I'm not just talking about a little bit of his head. He knew production-wise, he knew what he wanted the snare drum to sound like. He knew what he wanted the kick drum to sound like. It wasn't just, I want big drums. He knew he wanted, the Bon Jovi sounding toms, because Bob Rock on the Jersey record made those toms sound incredible. You know what I'm saying? And he wanted this to sound like Warrant, or this to sound like Skid Row. All of it in that 80s genre. But he had a very clear vision of what that song was supposed to sound like.
Well, it worked out well because it didn't have that dated sound either. Because there's that certain sound on some of the '80s records.
Yeah, right.
It just has what I'm talking about. It's like it's shiny or something. It's no matter who the band is,
Right. It's got a touch of nostalgia, but you could see that the roots are old school rock and roll. But it's a new rock song. It's brand new. It's not a hair metal song, but you could tell that the roots come from 80s hard rock.
And let me tell you, the social media, just be a singer, and you're gonna have people doing it, but social media means nothing. It really doesn't at this point. I'm sorry, I'm watching it fall apart. Yeah, all the Instagram. I have these big. I've had some big people on, and then they have they have these huge accounts. They're all bots. I mean, a lot of the stuff is, behind the curtains. It's not what it seems like it is.
Yeah.
And these big Instagram people are not going to fill a club. They're not going to get anybody to come to the door. You know who's going to come to the door? Your dad and Bret Michaels are going to come there. They don't even have it. I mean, you have, obviously, Bret has, but you don't even need it. You could just show up. Real rock and roll and real musicians, any kind of music is going to show up. Of course, you need some publicity, but it's not based on Instagram numbers.
It was funny. We were talking about this yesterday or 2 days ago. There's a guy named Frank Ray. He's a country artist with a giant country hit right now called Country Looks Good on You.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Yeah.
And he's opened up for us, the Bret Michaels band, a couple times in the last month. And it's a huge hit. You can't turn on country radio without hearing it right now. And then I looked at his Instagram, and he'll post something, and it gets like 300 likes. Like, there's an illusion happening in what the social media.
I think it's starting to crack too. I think there's a crack in it.
It's a trend. I mean, you see people that have a lot of followers that turn into artists. It's very risky because they'll trend, but then they'll fall off super, super hard. You want to be a long-lasting musician. That's harder to do because you could get 1 million followers by just one.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
one stupid video.
When you're in it for the game and you have some good music, you'll be in it. And you can survive off of it.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for coming on and taking the time. This has been awesome. Thanks for working with my schedule too.
I've never done it with him. I think I hope we said anything interesting. It's a
conversation. We're talking.